So once again, welcome back here. My name is Teresa Horeisova, joining you as Jovan from Geneva, in fact, from a ConfTech Lab space that we have here, getting ready for the future of meetings and hybrid forms of some forms that we are expecting to come. At this moment, we have come out from 4 simultaneously held breakout sessions. Now, you might be wondering if you can catch up on what has been happening elsewhere. Rest assured that yes, this whole event is recorded and we will edit the video to make it as convenient for you to review later, and it should be available within a few days. So it doesn't really matter if you missed on other sessions and still would like to catch up. Now, very briefly, that we will hear from the moderators of the 4 previous sessions. I would kindly like to ask you to be very brief, our dear moderators, limiting into one main takeaway in maybe 2-3 sentences. If you allow me, I will start with Vladimir Radunovic, who was in Breakout 1. Vladimir, over to you.
Thank you, Teresa. The main message is always we needed more time. But besides that, couple of quick points, 3 main blocks of thinking when it comes to whole of the government, whole of the society approach, having a strategy, a coordination, and a multi-stakeholder approach. What is also important is culture and skills, communications and contacts across the ministries and stakeholders, and focus on putting all the resources that different sectors have together and focusing on results. On a practical level, this sort of informal communication can benefit a lot from digital tools, Zoom calls or anything else, which is a little bit flattening the hierarchy of the government, but can be really helpful as one of the changes. And the second one is the need for data management and knowledge management. And again, the use of digital technologies, which can actually help this whole of the government, the whole of the society approach. Back to you, Teresa.
Thank you, Vlada. That sounds very good. I will go straight to our breakout group 2, which was moderated by my colleague, Natasha Peručica. Natasha, what can you share with us?
So I will try to be very brief. We had a very good discussion on the content that should be included in foreign policy and how they are drafted. First of all, our panelists touched upon the versatility of digital issues that are being addressed, in particular in Geneva, from cyber security all the way to digital inclusion. Our participants also raised a very interesting point on feminist foreign policy, and they gave very concrete, practical examples of what Canada, for instance, is doing with women in cyber fellowship, or what Sweden is doing with the Wikigap project, where embassies basically help improve female contribution to Wikipedia. Lastly, we also discussed that foreign policy is no longer about security, but it is mostly about economy and technology, and that that we need to have tech companies on board who are basically have become the major players in the field.
Excellent, Natasha. Seems like exciting discussion as well. Going to Breakout 3, which was moderated by my colleague Andriana Gavrilovic. Andriana.
Thank you for the floor, Teresa. The Breakout Room 3 has more or less concluded that even when there is no digital foreign strategy, it doesn't mean that there is no agenda in this field. And often the institutional setup dealing with these issues will drive this agenda. We also came to a tentative conclusion that perhaps foreign policy strategies are more about communicating countries' priorities, perspectives, and approaches than about anything else. We also discussed where to start the policy-making cycle. Can we start with institutional setup, or do we need a foreign policy strategy first? And we commented that it actually depends on the institutional setup and coordination in the particular country. For some countries, it is better to start with the strategy, and for some, it is better to start with the institutional setup. We also said that digital diplomacy is a team sport and that it is useless to be a single person. You need a whole of government approach. But we also noted that we should not think in terms of centralized strategies and coordination, but we should go for a networked approach. That's all, Teresa, from me. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Andriana. And last but not least, Stephanie Borg-Psaila was moderating discussion in track 4. So Stephanie, what's been happening up there?
Thank you, Teresa. Our panel discussion was about the challenges that diplomats face in dealing with digital foreign policy. I'll list the main challenges that emerged from our discussion. One of them was that governments tend to adopt a management by crisis approach rather than a management by anticipation approach. Also, the fact that governments tend to be present focused rather than future oriented. And perhaps this is linked to the fact, tying in what was said earlier, the fact that technology moves ahead at such a fast pace, and then governments do find it a challenge to keep up with all the fast developments. There was also the point that diplomats tend to work in silos, so there is a bit of a sometimes lack of coordination. And the third and most discussed topic was the issue of capacity building, the need for ongoing capacity development. It starts from the training that diplomats receive before they join diplomatic service, and it goes through the career, especially in a field where the developments take place at, again, such a fast rate, and diplomats need to keep abreast of all the developments. Back to you, Teresa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie, and certainly glad to hear capacity building was coming up there as well. Now, I know that my colleague Pavlina Idelson is also monitoring the chat. I'm not seeing the chat, so Pavlina, feel free to just interrupt us anytime during this segment to bring up anything from the chat. And we'll just pause here, but if not,
I don't have anything yet, so you can keep going.
Okay, thank you. Now, as you have understood from the previous few hours you've spent with us, what we are doing today is a process. It's not a one-off undertaking. It's not a one-off event. It has been built on a lot of work we have done in the past, but it's also kind of shaped by the plans that we have for the future. And Katarina Höne is obviously in the charge of this. So Katarina, would you be able to share with us what are the immediate next steps after we disconnect after this event?
Thank you so much, Teresa. That's a real pleasure. So informally, we call this event 2021 the Year of Digital Foreign Policy, and that really reflects what our priority is going to be for this year in terms of research to a large degree. So there's a lot to come. I want to make it simple and highlight 4 very specific things that you can look forward to in terms of our research, events, and other material. So first, there's a research paper coming out written by Dr. Jovan Kovalia and myself that we will probably be able to send just in a follow-up for this conference. So as you get the summary and the recordings for this conference, you will also get an accompanying research paper that really maps and highlights our whole approach to this topic, basically. Second, in 1 month, we have an event coming up precisely in 4 weeks on the 6th of April. As part of our monthly web debate, we will look more specifically at the EU's foreign policy. The event is called Unpacking the EU's Digital Diplomacy and Foreign Policy. And we will meet at 12 UTC, 14 CEST, to discuss this topic with our experts. Registrations are already open, and one of my colleagues can put the link in the chat, so you can already bookmark this event where we meet again in 4 weeks to dive deeper into the topic. Third, we will start a podcast series on diving into digital, where we deepen the discussion with the experts in digital foreign policy. Some of the people you saw during this conference, and plus a lot more people, to really get into the details of the topic and have a very rounded discussion over an hour or so. And then last but not least, we will have a larger research report that encompasses basically all that I've been talking about coming in July this year. So there's a lot going on. You can see the Diplo team is going to be very busy over the next couple of months. But back to you, Teresa, for wrapping up the conference.
Thank you very much, Katarina. That sounds very clear. But please don't go, because this is not the end. We actually have 2 other little surprises for you, if you wish. First, we will have a very short but very engaging fireside fireside chat with two excellent speakers talking further in a more kind of intimate environment. We will have back Jovan Kurbalia, the director of Diplo and head of the Geneva Internet Platform, but especially our friend Mokhtar Yedali, formerly with the African Union Commission. After this fireside chat, which will take about 15 minutes, we would like to provide you with something that we are all missing in these virtual events, and those are networking opportunities. At Diplo and the Geneva Internet Platform, we are really trying to experiment with new platforms, new ideas, new ways on how networking can happen in the virtual world. And today, we will experiment with you on a platform that is called WonderMe, where you can kind of simulate what you would be doing in an informal reception after a conference. My colleagues will be sharing a link in the chat where you can join us after the fireside chat is over, so in about 15 minutes from now. And just to make sure, the networking will not be happening in Zoom, but somewhere else, and you will have to proactively click that link. No need to install anything. You will click it, and you will be there. With this, I would like to invite Mokhtar and Jovan Kurbalia to come back to the stage. Thank you from me in Geneva.